There is a kind of person you have met at least once in your life, maybe at work, maybe at a family gathering, maybe you sat next to them on a long flight. They were not the loudest in the room. They were not the most music attractive by any conventional measure. They were not trying to impress anyone, and yet you could not stop paying attention to them. There was something about the way they carried themselves, a steadiness, a quiet confidence that did not need your approval to exist. You left that conversation thinking about them for days. What did they have that most people do not? Music was not luck. It was not genetics. It was not money or status. It was something they had built slowly, deliberately, through the choices they made every single day before anyone was watching. The Stoics understood this over 2,000 years ago. They called it virtue, not in the religious sense, not as a music moral performance, but as a kind of inner excellence that shapes everything about how a person moves through the world. And here is what modern culture gets completely wrong. True attractiveness has almost nothing to do with how you look, and everything to do with who you are becoming. You might be thinking right now, I am past the age where any of this matters to me. But that is precisely where you are wrong. As people move into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the qualities that draw others toward them shift dramatically. Youth fades for everyone, but depth, presence, and character compound over time. The person who has worked on themselves for decades carries a weight and a warmth that no young face can replicate. Music. We are going to talk about 10 habits, not tricks, not shortcuts, but genuine daily practices rooted in Stoic philosophy that fundamentally change the way people experience you. Some of them will feel uncomfortable. Some of them will challenge assumptions you have held for a long time. All of them are music real. The first of these is one that almost no one takes seriously enough. Speak less than you know. Seneca wrote that silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. He did not mean that quiet people are weak. He meant that a person who has truly lived, who has seen enough, music, lost enough, learned enough, knows that words are not free. Every unnecessary word costs you something. It costs you presence. It costs you credibility. It costs you the rare impression of someone who does not need to fill music every silence. Most people talk to be seen. The person who is genuinely compelling talks only when they have something worth saying. You have probably noticed this in your own life. The colleague who spoke the least in meetings was often the one everyone listened to most carefully when they finally did speak. Before you speak, ask music yourself one question. Does this add something real, or am I just filling space? The second practice is about the moment most people handle worst, controlling your reaction when friction arrives. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, a journal he never intended anyone to read. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He was not writing for an audience. He was reminding himself, a man who commanded an empire, that his greatest battle was always internal. Here is something most people in their 40s and 50s will recognize immediately. A family dinner. Someone makes a comment about your choices, your past, your opinions. The old version of you would have felt the heat rise. You would have defended yourself or gone quiet and stewed for days. The person who has developed genuine self-control does something different. They pause, they breathe, they choose their response the way a craftsman chooses a tool, deliberately without rushing. This pause, this single moment between what happens and how you respond, is where music character lives. When someone cannot provoke you, cannot rattle music you, cannot pull you down to their level, people begin to experience you as someone fundamentally different, not cold, not dismissive, grounded in a way that most people simply are not. The third practice is one most people overlook entirely, keeping the music promises you make to yourself. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers in history, taught one principle above all others: know what is in your control and what is not. Your word to yourself is music entirely within your control, and it is the foundation of everything else. When you say you will wake at a certain hour, and you do. When you say you will not eat what harms you, and you do not. Music. When you say you will finish what you started, and you finish it, these small, private victories accumulate music into something that other people can feel without being able to name it. The alignment between what you say and what you do, even when no one is watching. That is not a concept. It is something that radiates outward from a person who has practiced it long enough. The fourth practice is harder than it sounds, and most people underestimate how deeply it controls them. Stop seeking approval and mean it. Most of us have spent decades building our sense of self-worth on the reactions of other people. A compliment music feels good. Criticism stings. Silence makes us anxious. And so we learn slowly and without noticing to perform, to say what will be well received, to soften our real opinions, to become a slightly blurred version of ourselves in order to avoid friction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." He is describing something most people never notice about themselves. Here is what approval-seeking actually looks like after 50. It looks like agreeing, with things you do not believe because the room expects music. It looks like not mentioning your real interests because you are afraid they will sound strange. It looks like editing your stories before you tell them, removing the parts that might not land well. The result is a person who is pleasant music to be around but impossible to truly know. People feel that emptiness even when they cannot name it. Practice saying what you actually think calmly, respectfully, without aggression, even when you suspect it will not be popular. Not to provoke, not to perform rebellion, but because a person who stands behind their own thoughts is far more compelling than one who borrows the thoughts of the room. The fifth practice is one that separates people who grow from people who stagnate, taking full responsibility without drama. There is a specific kind of person who, when something goes wrong, music immediately begins explaining why it was not entirely their fault. The circumstances music were difficult, the other person was unreasonable, the timing was wrong. There is always a reason, and there is always an audience being asked to validate that reason. Stoicism asks something harder. It asks you to look at your role in every situation with honest eyes, not to punish yourself, but to grow. Epictetus put it plainly, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." Think of a man who made a bad financial decision in his late 40s, lost a significant amount of money. He had two paths. The first, blame the market, blame the advisor, blame his partner for not stopping him. The second, sit quietly with what happened. Acknowledge his part in it honestly. Music. Extract what he could learn and move forward without needing anyone to feel sorry for him. The second man is rare, and the second man without trying to becomes music. Someone, others, want beside them when things get hard. The sixth practice is one people rarely think of as a habit at all, letting your body language tell the truth. The Stoics believe that the inner life and the outer life are not separate. How you hold yourself physically is an expression of how you actually are inside. And other people read it before you say a single word. Slouching, avoiding eye contact, crossing your arms, fidgeting when silence falls. These communicate something. They tell the people around you that you are not fully at ease in your own presence. And if you are not at ease in your own presence, why would anyone else be at ease in yours? Stand as if you have somewhere to be and are not in a hurry to get there. Make eye contact long enough to show that you are genuinely present. When you sit, take up the space that is yours without apology. These are not poses. They are the natural physical expression of a person who has done enough inner work to be comfortable with who they are. The seventh practice is one that becomes harder with age precisely because it requires unlearning something comfortable, cultivating genuine curiosity, music about other people. The older we get, the easier it becomes to stop being genuinely curious. We have heard enough stories. We have formed our opinions. We have sorted the world into categories that feel reliable, and slowly, without noticing, we stop asking real questions and start waiting for our turn to speak. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those who you yourself can improve." He is talking about a two-way exchange, not a performance of interest, a genuine willingness to be changed by another person and to change them in return. Music. Think about the last time someone asked you a question, and music you felt they were actually listening to your answer, not preparing their response, not glancing elsewhere. Music, not nodding politely while thinking about something else, truly present with their full attention on you. How did that feel? Most people cannot remember the last time it happened because music, is genuinely rare. When you speak with someone, anyone, not just people you consider important, ask one real question and then be quiet long enough to hear the full answer, not the surface answer, the real one that comes after a pause. That pause is where the truth lives. Music. Start today, not because someone is watching, but because you are.